Shake hands.
Let's kiss.
No. Not on camera.
Okay. I feel like Wayne's World. Welcome to the inaugural episode of Sofa King Movie Reviews. This is going to be a show for the internet about movies. What did we see this week, Scott?
Well, for our first episode, since it's the week of Halloween, we decided to go see Paranormal Activity 3.
At midnight.
At midnight. Yes, the scariest time to see it. And so this one is directed by Henry Joost and Ariel Schulman, and it's obviously based on the previous storyline that they've built up through Paranormal Activity 1 and 2, which was created by Warren Pelly. A lot of people know the story behind that. So let's jump right into it. Brad, what did you think?
I thought, overall, pretty good, creepy movie. There were elements I did not really care for, and it's the reasoning in my head I can't quite figure out why I didn't like them, because for some reason, these elements I didn't care for didn't seem realistic enough when the whole movie isn't really realistic. But there were certain things that happened that I feel like, it had some paranormal reality-based stuff to it. And then there was some stuff that just seemed like hocus-pocus type of stuff.
Give me some examples, if you can. In the crowd, some examples.
Well, without spoiling it, I liked the first movie. I never saw the second movie, but I liked the first movie because it, it was all found footage and just creepy, unexplained things. And I feel like in this one, they tried to put too much meaning behind what was going on.
Okay. As we've talked about previously, I'm a big fan of the franchise, to be honest with you. The first one was one of the scariest movies I've ever personally seen, and I consider myself a horror movie buff. And one of the things I really liked about it, and I think because I was a fan of the franchise, is they went into more meaning and they added a bit to the mythology of the franchise. You get to find out a little bit why Katie and Krista, who are the main characters, Katie was the main character of the first one, Krista in the second, and here in this third one, since it's a prequel, they are like 5 and 7, I think, were their ages, something like that. And you get to find out a little more about why they are being haunted by this demon. And I found it really interesting. One of the things for me is with horror movies, I never want to know too much, and I think that's what kills a lot of horror movies. And they gave me a little bit, but I'm still unclear as to exactly what's going on. But with that said, the scares in this movie, especially towards the latter half, I was tense the whole movie. Yeah. I kind of sat like this, and my back really hurt at the end of it, to be honest with you. Especially one of the great things they did is they have, with this handycam setup, since it's set in the 80s, he kind of rigs this oscillating fan.
That part was cool.
To go between the kitchen and the living room. And when you're watching those scenes, it is just, as really the camera tense. Creeps along, it is very, very tense. And you're just constantly waiting for something to happen. And those were, I think, some of the most effective scenes in the movie.
Yeah, one moment specifically I can think of with that same oscillating setup. If it happened to me, I would freak out. There was a babysitting scene, and one of the
classic
things...
babysitter in a horror movie.
Yeah, seemed a little cliche at the beginning, but what they actually did with it was just like, I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it, because it was just so creepy. And that's, if there was an overall theme to how I felt, it would be Goosebumps because of how creepy it was.
Yeah. And one of the things with the whole franchise, I think they're really good at those moments that just sink in and stay with you. and I think a large part of that is because it's a very simple setup, but the fact that they film largely when people are sleeping, when they're sort of at their most vulnerable, and I think that's what makes it stick with you. I don't think this one like the first one is still the essential one for me as far as that experience. This one had a lot of great like jump scares, but I don't feel like it's gonna stick with me, for weeks to come like the first one did.
Yeah, I do feel like I said, the first one had a little more of that realistic, even though it's not realistic if you're being, a sane person.
Pending your beliefs.
Yeah. This one, I mean, all the moments that they kind of took from the first one and threw in this one, I think are the best moments. In my opinion.
And there's little things for fans of the franchise too that happen. Like actually, when I was looking up the IMDb just now to find the director, one of the fun facts is early in the movie they take like a quick picture, because it's picture day at school, and they take one in their driveway. And for people who are fans of the first and second movie, they remember that picture coming up in the house in the first one, just randomly showing up.
Oh, really? I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, and that, I mean, it's just one of the cool little things that I appreciate in movies for like throwbacks to the fans.
Yeah. Speaking of throwbacks, one thing I'm pretty sure you appreciated, when the husband in this one and his little buddy that were helping film, when they were discussing the weird title of a strange movie coming out in the 80s called Back to the Future.
Yeah.
That part
interesting debate.
Yeah. Back to the past?
Yeah. It was, especially for a prequel, it's just a fun little shout for movie buffs.
Yeah.
And I liked it a lot. I would definitely recommend going to see Paranormal Activity 3.
I would recommend it as well.
And I would recommend seeing it in theaters because a large part, for fans of the first and second, they already know this, a large part of this franchise is based not on the typical horror movies that you see nowadays where it's just blood and guts and killing. It's all based on sound. And
there was no blood at all in this, I don't think.
I don't remember.
There was a cut, but there was no
like
blood. It looked like a
cut
scratch
that you could get. Yeah.
No blood though.
And that's one thing because it's kind of what you don't see that's the scariest thing, and that's something I've always appreciated about this franchise. With that said, the only downside to seeing it in theaters is you get really stupid people.
Yes, you do.
For instance, a family who would take their 4-year-old child to see a horror movie at midnight.
Yep.
And that...
and talk on their cell phones most of the time.
Yeah. I'm very big on the movie-going experience, and if you break my train of concentration, it takes me out, and I think that might be part of the reason this one didn't scare me as much as the first one.
Very true.
Because I spent a large portion of it frustrated. But the bright side, that child will probably never sleep again, which means that the parent will probably never sleep again. So I guess justice is served.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Well, all right.
All right. Well, this was the first episode of Sofa King Movie Reviews. We're going to be doing new movies. We're going to hope about once a week we're going to be doing classic DVD, maybe more modern DVD, but
classic by our terms.
Yeah. We'll only review the things that we think are awesome.
Well,
but we will take suggestions. If you have any suggestions for us, send us an email or post it on our Facebook page or
since
comment.
This is the first video, just tell us, because you probably know us if you're watching.
That's true. But yeah, we're open to suggestions. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. We're still trying to figure out what we're going to change here. This was a very quick setup. We wanted to get our thoughts out on the movie before, we talked about it amongst ourselves too much. But yeah, this was the first episode, so if you're watching this, you're special. Any last words?
Cut!